In this video, we're going to show you how to replace an upper control arm on your Chevy Silverado. This will be located behind the front wheel. Let's get started. Using a 22mm socket, remove the 6 lug nuts. Remove the wheel. Pull the plastic stay out for the ABS connector. Pop open the red locking tab. Press on the black button. Pull back on the connector and remove it. Pull the plastic stay for the ABS harness out of the bracket. Using a 10mm socket, remove the bolt for the brake line bracket. Pull the bracket off. Using an 18mm wrench, we're going to loosen the upper ball joint nut. Go until the stud starts to spin. If the stud starts to spin, you can use a pry bar and pull down on the top of the control arm to help keep the stud still. We're going to unthread this nut until it's just on for a few threads. Using a hammer, we're going to bonk the knuckle on the side to release the tension on the ball joint. Using a pry bar, we're going to go under the spring and pull down on the upper control arm and remove that ball joint nut. Slowly let up on that pry bar. Let the knuckle fall over to the side. Using two 21mm wrenches, we're going to loosen the nut on the adjuster bolt. Remove the nut. Remove the adjuster on the back side. I'm working this bolt back and forth to break the rust inside of the bushing in the control arm. Tap the bolt out of the control arm. We're going to try and work this cam adjuster down the bolt. Remove the bolt. Do the same thing for the front adjuster. Remove the nut. Remove the cam bolt. Remove the upper control arm. I'm going to use a wire brush and just clean up where our upper control arms are going to sit. Install the upper control arm. Line up the bolt with the upper control arm and get it installed. Install the second plate. Get the nut started. I have a little bit of anti-seize on the bolt. Do the same thing for the rear bolt. Take your time while doing this. This is a very tight spot. These are not easy to get in. Using a 22mm wrench for the head of the bolt and a 21mm wrench for the nut. We're going to snug this down. We don't want to make it tight. We still want this to be able to move. Using a 22mm wrench for the head of the bolt, we're going to use a 21mm wrench and snug down this nut. We don't want to make this tight. We just want to suck the adjusters in against the strut tower. Just like that. Do the same thing on the front. Pull the knuckle over, remove the bungee cord. Install the upper control arm into the knuckle. Get the nut started. We're going to use a jack under the ball joint and lift the knuckle assembly up by the lower control arm. When you're doing this, be sure you don't pull the truck off of the jack stands. Use a pry bar and pull down on the upper control arm and thread that upper ball joint nut up. Remove the jack. Using an 18mm wrench, snug down the upper ball joint nut. The torque for this is 37 foot-pounds and then an additional 100 degrees. If you can't get a torque wrench on it, do the best you can. Make it nice and tight. Make sure that a slot in the nut lines up with the hole in the stud to put a cotter pin through. Install the cotter pin. Pull the ends around. Install the grease fitting into the upper control arm ball joint. Using a 7mm socket, snug it down. Get it nice and snug. Using a grease gun, we're going to grease the upper ball joint. Install the brake line bracket. You can get the bolt started. Snug the bolt down. Install the plastic stay of the ABS harness into the brake line bracket. Install the ABS connector. Push until you hear a click. If you don't hear a click, give it a pull. Make sure it's locked on. Close that red tab. Install the connector stay into the bracket. We're going to use a jack under the lower ball joint and jack up the knuckle. We're going to jack this up until our suspension is acting like it is fully loaded, and then we'll be able to tighten our camber adjustments. Right about there. We're going to torque our camber adjustment bolts down to 140 foot-pounds. As you tighten these, you want to hold the head of the bolt so your camber adjustment doesn't move. We have them set right in the middle, and then we'll take this down for alignment after the job. Do the same thing on the rear adjustment. Remove the jack. Install the wheel. Get the lug nuts started. Snug the lug nuts down. Torque the lug nuts in a star pattern to 140 foot-pounds.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.